Okay, good evening, everyone. We're at the Planning Coordination Advisory Committee meeting for the NVTA. Today's Wednesday, June 17th. And I'll go ahead and take roll. Councilmember Saloni Miles. Board Member Spain is not here. Supervisor Bierman. Supervisor Glass is not coming. Supervisor LaCroix. Councilmember Aguirre and Councilmember Peterson, Councilmember Underhill.
Here, present.
Hello, how are you? Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Moreau.
Present.
And Vice Mayor Hedrick.
Here.
Just walked in, all right. And Mayor Berto. I believe is online.
He is online.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe busy.
All right, great. So now we do have a quorum. Okay. First thing is summary notes of May 27th. Are there any changes to those notes? Okay. All in favor, say aye. To pass. All right. Anyone? Any nays? Okay. And I'll just note that Councilmember Peterson just walked in, so he is joining us. He's present. Okay, next is Dr. Nam Portheri on the 6-year program update staff recommendations.
Thank you, Chair Mayor Colbert and members of PCAC. Please bring it up. But as you know, we have been going through the process of 6-year program update, 2-year update. We started in May of last year, where we invited applications. We opened up the portal. We have an online application portal and started the process. This is kind of end of that process. We are reaching to the end of the process. If we can go to the next slide. We went through this process and the measures, how the measures are calculated, what it looks like in terms of the set of applications we received this year in the past couple of meetings. I will compare it with how this funding program compared with previous funding programs and then go through the staff recommendations. Next slide, please. This whole meeting was on these 4 points, so I'm not going to repeat it.
Okay.
But we have eligibility criteria. We have to go through a set of quantitative and qualitative analysis, present all that to the public, and get their comment on these applications and evaluations. We went through all that process. Right. The first ever funding program by NVTA was in fiscal year 24. You look at it consistently, we received more requests than the money we had in each of these cycles. And the last column there shows what percentage was that. So average compared to, if you add up all those funding programs till last cycle, 50%, that's how much money we had. So always oversubscribed. This particular round at the last authority meeting last week, authority approved the pay-go amount that will be used for this particular 6-year program update, and that's 775.79 million. Request is for 1.25 billion. That's about 62%. Slightly better than the average, but still way below what people are requesting. Next slide. I'll walk you through some of the highlights and concepts of how this recommendation is made, and then I can take you to that particular table that you all have a separate printout. There were 27 candidate projects. We are recommending funding on 21 of them. 18 of them, the full request. Some projects requested the whole project cost. Some of them requested only proposals. Whichever way it is, 18 of them we are recommending the full requested amount. 3 of them partial amount, which leaves 6 projects not recommended for any funding. There were 3 projects that were continuation, which means those projects received funding in the previous cycles. They were coming back for additional funding. And we are recommending funding on all those three. Two projects are multi-jurisdictional. This is the first time we are seeing that kind of a project where a project that crosses multiple jurisdiction, in this case, one project that crosses two jurisdictions, another one crosses four jurisdictions. And that shows those jurisdictions are collaborating together to come and propose projects like that. That's real regional projects. If you remember, I walked you through the congestion reduction relative to cost CRRC ratio in the past meetings. By law, we had to give priority to that particular rating. In this case, in our recommendation, all those projects that ranked 1 through 19, except one in the middle, are recommended for funding. So we are following that particular ranking. The other key legally required rating that we had to look is transaction rating, the combination of 10 performance measures. 1 through 15, rank 1 through 15, all of them except two in the middle, we are recommending funding. So we are kind of following the legally required mandate in this with some minor exceptions. So I will go through that too. Next slide. The whole funding, as you can see, compared with the past programs, you can see that with these 21 recommended projects, the total funding is now more than 4.5 billion. It shows that NVTA's funding has been reliable, robust, and it's continued. 4.5 billion, 153 project, including the recommendations here. So recommendations, you have to review it and you have to come up with your recommendation. Authority has to find the other. If we go with the staff recommendation, that's how it is. In this set of recommendations, we have projects ranging from funding recommendation ranging from 1.5 million to 200 million. So large, small, everything in between. Geographically and modally balanced, 8 applicants are there, and there's at least one project from each applicant recommended for funding. All modes. We have bikeway, roadway, transit, technology, and intersection interchange improvements. 9 bikeway projects. That's in the next slide. I will mention about that. Next slide, please. Again, focus on BRT and multimodal projects. You may remember that NVTA has already funded 5 of the BRT projects in Northern Virginia, more than 880 million in those. 2 of those projects came back for additional funds with the staff recommendations on that funding too, on those projects too. Now the total investment will be more than 1 billion in BRT. In this cycle, we have seen most number of applications for bike and pedestrian projects compared to any other cycle. And the largest amount requested too. And that is reflected in the funding recommendation also. This is the first time we are recommending these many number of bike projects and much amount. There were 2 projects that were transportation technology projects. And in every cycle we received transportation technology projects, they are already ranked at the top. It shows that those projects are cost effective. And this time also it's the same. There are 2 applications on transportation technology. Both are ranked at the top. Some of you have been in this committee for a long, so you may have kept whenever we updated the transaction or long range plan, you may have heard about the corridor, different corridors we have in transaction, 11 corridors, and that we are looking at how people move in the region. Particular facility or another, it's a corridor, a parallel set of facilities that move people. So in this cycle also, we have our funding recommendation focuses some of that corridor movements. I-95 Route 1, which is the most congested route in the region. There are 3 projects in that corridor. I-66, Route 29, and Route 50. There are 4 projects in that corridor. Route 28 and Loudoun County Parkway are 2 different corridors, but there is one project that saddles both of them, so helps movement in both of them. Glebe Road is not a transaction identified corridor per se, but it is a key corridor, north-south corridor. And there are multiple projects staff is recommending on that corridor too. Next slide. This is a table in front of you. I will come back to this. We'll explain a couple of slides more and then I will come back to this. Next one. So I said initially 21 projects are recommended for funding, 18 of them full funding, 3 of them partial funding. I'll explain the partial funding first. There are multiple reasons why we are looking at partial funding there. There are external funding on some projects or expected funding. Some of these projects may be low on their CRRC ratio, but high on their transaction rating. Long-term benefit plays into the picture. Public comments. Obviously, we mentioned in your last meeting, we showed you how the public comments play out. So all these factors come into picture, and that's why these 3 projects noted here, Fairfax County's Richmond Highway BRT, Arlington's South George Mason Drive multimodal improvements, and Loudon's Colonial Highway pedestrian safety improvements are partially funded. 6 projects I said we start with not
Let
recommending.
me interrupt. And I did want to take a minute about the Richmond Highway BRT funding recommendation, because we know that the county has a New Starts or CIG grant in with the federal government or FTA. We want to give the county the opportunity to see what the FTA is going to do before trying to allocate the full funding amount. So that's why the project scored well under with the full funding amount request and the total cost, but it's being recommended for partial funding because we want to give the county some time to work with FTA to see if they'll fully fund the county's request, I should say, which is consistent with our code language regarding advocating for federal and state funds.
So, so if they don't, if it doesn't get funded, they're partially funded, so they probably could start the project, but then would they come back and ask
They are
for-
well into the project. We
okay.
have about $638 million. Go ahead, Supervisor.
You know about it.
The county's good with this.
But we are working on language because, again, we didn't want to create an unfair imbalance. We know 463 million is a lot of money. The county, right now, we have 638 million on it. They are actively advancing the project, but we do want that piece. We just want a determination from the
Sure.
federal government. So we are working on language because we do have the capacity to fund the project. It was a great project, and it scored well in our system, but we do want the FTA to say yes or no.
Okay.
Yes, we
The
don't want
money
them to
is
say no.
there, it's just.
Yes.
it's holding, oh, I understand. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. And then the 6 projects that didn't get funded, again, they have low CRRC ratio or transaction rating. Long-term benefit may have played into the picture. They may have or may not have external funding coming in. And then we have to make sure that we have geographic balance going on. So those are the reasons why the projects that didn't get funded, staff didn't recommend funding for that. Next slide. This again a summary of that recommendations. Out of 27 applications, 21 of them are recommended for funding. Arlington County, 10 out of 13 applications are recommended for funding. 1 of them is partial, but the rest of them are fully for their full request is recommended for funding. Fairfax, 1 application that is recommended for partial funding. Loudoun County has 2 of them. 1 of them fully recommended, the other one is partially recommended, partial funding recommended. Prince William County has 5 applications, 4 of them are recommended for funding. City of Alexandria and Falls Church, 2 applications each, 1 each is recommended for funding. Manassas and Town of Herndon had 1 application each, both are recommended for funding. For the second table there shows the same data, but summary by mode, which mode is getting funded. As you can see, the largest number is bike and pedestrian. Out of 12 applications for bike pedestrian project funding, 9 of them are recommended. Next slide. Before I go back to that table and have a discussion, any questions I can take, I want to just mention today, your meeting now, staff is presenting you the staff recommendations. You have a discussion and then you make a recommendation to the authority. After this meeting at 7 o'clock, we have the technical advisory committee meeting. They will also receive the same presentation. They will also have an opportunity to discuss and make their recommendations. Both of these recommendations will go to the Planning and Programming Committee, which is a subcommittee of the authority, 5 members of the authority, tomorrow. They will look at both these staff recommendation. They will also have a discussion. They are the ones who are taking all the final recommendations to the authority itself. And the authority will meet on July 9th to look at all these and make the final recommendation, final adoption of the program. There are 6 projects that didn't get funded or recommended. There are some 3 projects that got partial funding. Jurisdiction may have other projects that they are looking for funding. We don't stop here. Within next 1 year, we will have the next call for project. By May of next year, we will have the next call for projects for the next 2-year update. So by the time we finish all this and put everything together, we will be rolling into the next funding program. With that, I will go back to that table. Recommendations, you have a printout in packet there, so we'll take any difference what we have.
Okay, questions? Councilmember Peterson?
Corridors. There are some major corridors here. In terms of evaluation, I'm just interested in knowing what role the proximity or connection to these major corridors play, because it looks like some projects are either within or connected to, but there may be smaller corridors that are independent, and I don't know whether that disadvantages them, because for just if you could put into context how to understand the role corridor plays.
Sure. So when in the past, when transaction, we started doing it internally, and I think even before that, and even before NVT had staff, when we did transaction, the staff started looking at it as movement along a corridor from one end to another. This is how it has. So if you look at 66 corridor, for example, 66, 29, Route 50, they all, and then even Orange Line, Metro Line, they all moving people in that one particular east-west kind of corridor, right? So anything that helps moving in that people in that corridor. So it doesn't have to be east-west movement. It could be north-south movement, but bringing people into that corridor. So people can come on to say 66 or 29, 50, and then go east or west. That functional activity is what we are looking at when we say projects that are in that corridor. It doesn't have to be in any of this corridor. It doesn't make them any disadvantage.
Okay. Another maybe big picture thing, and forgive me if I missed it or forgot it, but what role does safety play in any of these rankings?
Safety is one of the measures that we specifically look at when we create that transaction rating.
Okay, that's because you go congestion relief first and then the transaction. And just one last question. Interesting to see so many bike and pedestrian projects. And I'm curious to know, because some of them didn't make it and none of them are at the top of the heap, but they're all slotting in. What are the key ingredients in terms of evaluation that lead bike and ped projects to actually score sufficiently on congestion relief that they can actually make the grade here? Is there a pattern? Is there some set of driving design features that really cause these to rise to the top?
I can mention a couple of them. So key is that particular rating that you're seeing there is congestion reduction relative to cost. Cost is a factor, therefore. So if the cost is relatively high and the benefit of congestion reduction is not that high, then your rating is going to be low. Now, if you look at the congestion reduction side, it depends on different ways in which that project is designed or developed. If you are if you're bringing a completely new facility that there was nothing there, you are bringing a new facility, the chances, and that connects from one activity area to another major activity center, then the chances are that people are going to use that and that's going to reduce congestion. People are moving away from driving and they will get onto the bike and pedestrian facility and use. If there was already a facility which is a 5-foot sidewalk, now you had to make it into a 10-foot shared use path, it's not going to bring a lot more change because facility was already there, people are already using it. It just make their life easier, so maybe slightly more usage of that than before, but it's not going to make a huge difference. So those kind of factors are there, depending on what kind of facility, where you are providing.
Okay, well, it's helpful. I think maybe one of the top ranked bike and pedestrian projects here is Route 50 Arlington Glebe Road sidewalk widening with physical barriers. So, that would be an example of one where you have an existing facility that's being enhanced, but that has ended up scoring out pretty well. Is that just because that other factors like the the density of use is already there and it has high
Okay.
potential for that?
Absolutely, all that matters. Yes, land use is key too. Yeah.
Anyone else?
No, I'm done. So
You're done?
if you
Okay.
have any questions, we are
Um,
happy to.
So I will start off by saying, I don't know if everyone had time to check their email today. We did get an email from Supervisor Spain.
Yes.
And he is obviously not here tonight, but he did make a request. And it has to do with, and I know that Ms. Bachman can explain better, but I know it has to do with taking funding from their number one project and giving it to their number two. And I know, just having sat on this committee, being involved for a long time, I know that that's not something, I think that's not something that MBTA likes to do. But I don't know if it's best practices, but I'll go ahead if anybody wants to comment on that. Or if we want to let Ms. Bachman talk to that first.
Well, that was my question, is the impact
Sure.
on our process and impact on the status that we are now. If staff has any input on
Sure.
that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So a few things I would like to note. So as Madam Chair stated, the number one priority from Arlington County, because when you all submit your applications, we ask you to rank your priorities. It is, for the most part, fully funded. There's a delta of about $8 million. And really that delta is there because that's where the line was drawn. That's when we ran out of the funding that we were programming. What I will say is in the past, and we haven't done this in a very long time, because there are comments and concerns about the integrity of the process. By code, we are to give priority to the projects that provide the greatest level of congestion reduction relative to cost. So we have the number 19 scoring project that the county would like to take some money off of and put on the number 23 scoring project for congestion reduction relative to cost. Now, the authority you can make that recommendation to the authority for them to proceed with that, and they can take that action, but we have to document. Per code, when we do not select projects according to CRRC, congestion reduction relative to cost, we have to document. Some questions, because when it was done in the past, this was years ago, the authority said, don't come back. They said, if you want to take money off of a project and put it on another project, don't come back. We have a new policy, Policy 30, that speaks to when we fully fund a project and you can't come back for additional funds. But I do have some questions. I just saw the email about 3 hours before this meeting. What would happen to the donor project if the $8.5 million is taken off? Because both projects both projects per the project application, neither have funding on them, correct? So the county needs PE right of way and construction, and we're almost there for the donor project. The project that they want to put the $8.5 million on, that does cover PE. Who will cover the delta? That's my first question. I know no one here can answer because you are not representatives from Arlington County.
Okay. Any questions for staff about the request or about the process? policies. Councilmember
Well-
Peterson.
Maybe just to clarify, and maybe an obvious question is procedurally, where does this leave us in terms of a decision that we'll make? Does it alter the timing of the decision we're making? How does this affect us?
I'm sorry, will you do your mic, please?
Yeah, I'm just curious how this affects our decision and its timing and our option set.
So as Mr. Nampathiri said, tomorrow your recommendation goes to the Planning and Programming Committee immediately, or at 7 p.m., the Technical Advisory Committee meets. So this committee meets, started 5:30 today. They meet at 7. We're going to turn it around and take your recommendations to the Planning and Programming Committee. That timing is critical because statutorily, there's another code we have to meet. We have to post final recommendations. How many days before the authority takes action?
15 days.
15 days before the authority takes action. So that's why we have the PCAC and the TAG meeting the same night, and then we're turning it over to the Planning and Programming Committee for tomorrow. They make the final recommendation to the authority. So in order to meet that time frame and for the authority to take action at their July meeting, we need a recommendation.
Then I guess the next question is, how much I only learned of this a couple of hours ago. And I guess the question is, how much information can we and should we have as a part of making that decision in order to make it this evening?
I mean, I would say that, I mean, it's unfortunate that Supervisor Spain could not make it. However, I think you're right that we don't have some information. I think all of this, the email is dated today, so we just found out about this today. So I would not recommend doing this. I don't think it's not, it's going against the way NVTA, their policy, the way they normally do things. So, I think anytime you kind of veer off of a certain policy, there should be some, extraordinary circumstance that we look at and say, okay, under these circumstances, maybe this is merited, but we probably have questions to ask and we're not going to get those questions tonight. So, maybe we would do this, but I would not recommend doing this. Those are my thoughts. Yes, please.
I'm thinking that it skips over our evaluation process completely. And so basically you could beef up to, approve,
Is your mic on?
yeah,
Okay.
we could
No, that's okay.
beef up to, and then immediately the night before, switch it over some funds. I just think it's gonna start some bad policy on our behalf. Even if we really like the guy, which I don't know the guy, but you wanna help him out, but I think it's just gonna skip over our process.
Good point. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Ms.
please.
Under-
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. It's Supervisor Underhill.
Sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there any sort of, is there anything we could adopt where it's like we give some leeway such that, because we got this information late, I don't know if there's some, like, I guess, more open-ended something that we could adopt saying, we approve the staff's recommendations, but we also recognize that there was some last minute changes that Arlington asked for, and we could be open to that, but we just don't have the full information, just to sort of explain the situation that we're in, because I could see a very good case for wanting to, make sure that Arlington is moving forward with the projects that they want. And so I guess in terms of our recommendation, is there anything that we can do to keep it a little bit more open-ended and not cut out the discussion at the future meetings for the advisory committees to approve what Arlington has?
So Councilmember Underhill, what I would say is that the Technical Advisory Committee is meeting after this meeting. Although they did not receive the email, we plan to discuss it with them because that's part of being transparent with the process. And again, in Board Member Spain's email, he noted that Board Member Takis Karatonis will be bringing this up tomorrow at the Planning and Programming Committee.
Mhm.
And he
So
will be present.
I
That
guess.
even- Go ahead.
Oh, sure. I mean, I guess, because I know that our recommendation is going to go to the full board. And so I don't want our recommendation to, because we didn't have enough information to count as a, I don't know, count against Arlington, saying like, because, we approved what we had in front of us and we didn't make any note of what Arlington had asked for, that counts against them. And so while they could have a much more lengthy discussion, I'd almost like to acknowledge that we are sympathetic to Arlington. We just didn't have enough information at the time, and so if there's any way to acknowledge or note the situation that we're in.
And I would just note one point of clarification. Your recommendation goes to the Planning and Programming Committee.
Okay,
Their recommendation goes to the full authority.
I see. Okay, so then
We
Okay,
will, in the staff report and the memo, we will note whatever your recommendation is. So that is on the agenda. That will be in the authority meeting packet. We are not going to say, well, it doesn't matter. We will have whatever your recommendation is in the staff report that goes to the authority.
okay,
But
so
the
there,
action they take will be from the Planning and Programming Committee.
okay, so it might matter. I mean, so it would matter in terms of the programming and planning committee, but for going to the full board, they would at least know what we said, and they might take that into consideration too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and I know Councilmember Smith did you still want to say
I'll-
something? You could comment.
Let's just gonna observe that I was quite presumptuous about making a motion, but I'm not inclined to support the recommended change. I'm sure there's a good case could be made for it and all of that. I'm more concerned about its perception in terms of the process. Staff gets questioned and challenged all the time about making rankings and all of these things. And there are those who just refuse to be clear about those explanations. And actions like this, to me, seems like it would raise more questions than it would be necessary.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point. And I do think, I mean, I understand that there might be questions and people feel like maybe there is a good reason, but I will say he had time to write, we do have an email and that is the opportunity to put forth that information. And I also worry about something like this, that it would set a precedent. And I don't think that's something that we don't want to go down that road. Like I said, like for me personally, I think that unless it was, so extraordinary, and staff could even see that, maybe this was the case, but I'm not inclined to.
In fairness
support
to
it.
staff, the action I would have taken on something like this was at least a heads up 3 months ago. I mean, whatever,
Yeah.
not last night.
Right.
That there was some potential, but this doesn't convince me that we should do that.
And Councilmember Peterson.
Well, if hypothetically we choose not to support this, does that preclude the Planning and Programming Committee from deciding to advocate in favor of it if they have additional information?
No, not at all. And with Mr. Karatonis being on that committee, I would expect he would advocate for it.
So just to be clear, if we did not at this stage recommend it, that doesn't stop its review and potential recommendation at another stage.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I move approval of the NVTA staff recommendations.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Further comment? Yes, please. I'm glad you joined us. I'm just seeing you now.
Apologies, Madam Chair.
No,
I
that's
caught the
okay.
train in the wrong direction and had to jump across the platform.
That's okay.
I was hoping MBTA staff could explain a little bit the disparity in the grading for the Eisenhower Avenue and South Van Dorn Street road improvements.
Sure.
You mean the CRC rank?
Right, versus
Yeah, in the CRC ranking, as you can see, Eisenhower Avenue project is ranked 26 out of 27.
but the transaction project is number 8.
Yes,
Yeah.
Councilor Peterson had asked a similar question about, not specific to that project, but in general about ranking of the bike pedestrian project. So we kind of talked through this, and that applies to this project too, is some projects are ranked higher, some projects are ranked lower. There are so many different factors that affect it. In this case, I can say that the scope of the project includes taking away road lanes and then putting in bike pedestrian facility in one segment. Other segment you already have, and that one segment you are adding that. And then intersection improvement on Van Dorn and Eisenhower. So that's the project. So by taking away the lanes, you are reducing the throughput, and by adding bike lane, you are improving throughput. People who can move through that corridor. It's, in a way, it's canceling out each other. So when we look at congestion reduction itself, you are not seeing a large congestion reduction that allows you to get higher in that ranking.
I see what you're saying. I guess my response would be, don't you take into account the throughput for Van Dorn versus Eisenhower at that intersection? Because Van Dorn during rush hour, I would argue, has a much higher volume, and hence for moving traffic faster along the Van Dorn intersection or corridor at that time period, then the throughput is being improved. And whereas on the Eisenhower side, yes, it's probably not being improved, but we're adding the bike lanes and there's the multimodal option there. So can you expand a little bit more?
Sure. Our analysis is not just the segment, computer-based transportation models that use a much larger impact area. We look at the potential impact area and consider a much bigger area where, so all the roads and bus lanes, bus routes, metro lane or other VRE, all those impacts on all of them are considered together. So not just the Eisenhower part. So any changes in Eisenhower, how that will impact the traffic pattern on all those neighboring network, the holistic impact is what we look at. So what we receive is not just Eisenhower, but Van Dorn impact, everything together.
Okay, well, respectfully, I was putting into that context that it is holistic and that I'm looking at Eisenhower and Van Dorn at the same time and knowing that the metro station is there, but okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone online have a question? Let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take a roll call vote. I think we should probably do it that way. So there's been a motion to accept MBTA's recommended projects. All right. Starting with Supervisor LaCroix.
No.
Okay. Councilmember Aguirre.
Abstain.
Councilmember Peterson.
I'm sorry, I need to clarify. Is this a motion to accept the staff's recommendation
Yes.
or is the modification proposed by
Nope,
Mr.
this
Smith?
is
As is, aye.
Okay, then I didn't understand that.
okay, okay,
I
okay.
was making the motion that we simply accept the staff's recommendation.
Got it.
There did not seem to be
I
any
didn't
other
realize, thank you.
I liked it, so I seconded it.
people.
That was a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go back and
Sorry.
restart over. We want everyone to understand what they're voting for.
Yeah.
All right, let's start again. Okay, so we will start with Supervisor LaCroix,
Yes.
Councilmember Aguirre.
So abstain.
Okay, you're still abstaining. All right. Councilmember Peterson.
Aye.
Right. Councilmember Underhill.
I abstain.
Okay. And Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
okay, Councilmember Moreau,
Yes.
okay, Councilmember Hedrick,
Yes.
Councilmember, oh, Cummings is not here, Mayor Berto,
Yes.
okay, and all right, and Mayor Colbert, aye. All right, well, that,
And the motion carried. yeah.
aye, right. The motion definitely carried. All right, so unanimous with 2 abstentions, so that did pass. Okay. And now we are on to NBT updates with Ms. Pop.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. Earlier today, we celebrated Virginia being #1 for best workplaces for commuters, so #1 in the nation and Canada. So that was a big, big deal. We hope that we can celebrate Virginia being #1 again next year. As you all are aware, we are in the process of updating transaction, the region's long-range transportation plan, and the vehicle to submit projects for the 6-year program. Just as a reminder, the authority can only fund projects that are in transaction. So we have been in communications with your staff about getting those projects in for evaluation. And lastly, you may hear from me or may not even see me coming to your local governing body meetings, talking about the Bus Rapid Transit Action Plan. I was at Fairfax County yesterday presenting to the Transportation Committee. Thank you very much, Supervisor Bierman. Madam Chair, that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn or any further discussion?
So move to adjourn.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Go on.